Wang Hao, dressed in Jian'an style, woke up to find himself transported to a world full of courtyards. What exciting stories would happen to him in this era of material scarcity? Gentlemen, let's take a look. Keywords of the novel. Siheyuan. Wei Wu Ifeng no pop-up window, Siheyuan. Wei Wu Ifeng TXT complete collection download, Siheyuan. Wei Wu Ifeng latest chapter reading. Chapter 1. Finally arrived. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Chapter 1 finally arrived in the winter of 1960. 4 or 9 cities. An ordinary Sunday. Wang Hao was awakened early in the morning by the noisy noise outside, but he did not wake up. Instead, he curled up under the bed and greedily absorbed the temperature from the heated con. Joking, the winter of this era is not just for fun. I can really freeze people to death, don't believe it. Listening to the hustle and bustle outside, Wang Hao reluctantly tucked his head into the bed. There's no way, in this era where we still have a single day off every week, Sunday has become the busiest day for people. Doing household chores, visiting relatives and friends, taking children out for someone like Wang Hao who can lie in bed until the sun rises, even if you search the entire 49 cities, you may not be able to find the number of hands. But it's not that he's lazy, it's that he really has nothing to do on Sundays. That's right, as you may think, Wang Hao is not from this era, he comes from that dreamy and beautiful era decades later. He was originally a small technician in a construction company, but after drinking a broken piece, he inexplicably came to this era full of emotions, birds, in quadrangle courtyards. At first, he thought it was just a dream, but today, a year later, Wang Hao still has an unreal feeling. He even doubts whether the beautiful life in the future is just a dream he dreamed of when he was extremely hungry. Wang Hao is an orphan here. Both of his parents used to be employees of the Red Star steel rolling plant. Unfortunately, a fire broke out at an unfortunate time, causing them to walk west hand in hand. Wang Hao, who had become an orphan, was unable to take over his father's work immediately and become a worker because he was not yet of age. However, as he lost his source of income, he did not have the ability to live alone. In the end, he starved to death in the only asset left by his father, this rudimentary house. Later generations of Wang Hao also entered this human body with the same name and surname during this gap. Are you sure you want the compensation in the factory? What about the subsidies for the streets? Don't worry, Wang Hao doesn't even know now, it's still a secret. Let the secret drift for a while. To get to the point, Wang Hao struggled to make ends meet by eating 100 meals during his time traveling, and gained a more comprehensive understanding of this era. As a summary of the era of tickets in later generations, the word tickets is simply too appropriate. Here, there are watches and bicycles worth hundreds or even hundreds of yuan, as well as matches and soap worth a few cents, all without a ticket. Even the aunt's note used by women requires tickets. As for the cost of food and drink, let alone the cost. Taking the most commonly used coal in winter as an example, if you want to buy coal, you first need to go to the industrial and commercial office to apply for a coal certificate. Then we will give you a fixed amount of coal ticket every month, which is only for the current month. Do you want to keep it? Sorry, expired and invalid. After that, you can take the money and ticket to the designated location to buy coal. And you also need to go as soon as possible, otherwise you won't be able to buy it after it's sold out. Do you want to go somewhere else to buy? It depends on what kind of ticket you have. If it is a national universal ticket, you can buy it in a different place. If it is from a province or city, you can only buy it in your own province or city. If you go out of range, no one will recognize your ticket. Finally, just replace your coal certificate with your household registration book and old certificate in 1 year. Tickets, that's how they come about. Coal has coal certificates, grain and oil have grain and oil certificates. As for other daily necessities and daily necessities, they are divided into daily industrial products such as soap, matches, etc., as well as side foods such as candy, snacks, etc. These two types of vouchers are the same as tickets. There are even fecal tickets and urine tickets. As for the purpose, you can go for it yourself. Overall, in this era, we can't live without tickets. Some people will argue that there are different pigeon markets in every era, and even if you have money, you can't buy things. I don't believe it. There must be pigeon markets, but do you think pigeon markets in this era are prepared for ordinary people? Do your spring and autumn dreams. Is it affordable for ordinary people to sell half a small yellow croaker per kilogram of noodles in pigeon market? This is purely for those left behind, elderly and young people. Stop talking idle, let's get to the point. Wang Hao endured a difficult year by begging for food, but it was also somewhat unrealistic to think that he could officially enter the factory tomorrow to take over his father's shift and become a proud worker. Although I just entered the factory as a junior apprentice, apprentices also have levels. From beginner to intermediate, then from intermediate to advanced, and then to level 1 to level 8 technical workers. Technical workers are the most skilled and least skilled in the field of 8th level workers, somewhat similar to modern, great country craftsmen. It's a real baby lump. Although I am just a junior apprentice, I still have a monthly living allowance of 18 yuan, which is completely enough for my own livelihood. Don't believe it, in this era, meat is only over 40 cents per kilogram, rice is over 20 cents, and noodles are over 10 cents. The price varies depending on the type of coarse noodles. There are everything from a penny to a few cents. However, as an era of planned economy, the foundation of all purchases is that you have tickets. Someone asked, what if there are no tickets? No tickets. You can stand later, don't affect those who have tickets to buy things from behind. Do you want to find someone to buy privately? To tell you this, private trading in this era is called speculation. If it is severe, you may eat steel peanuts. But it is not entirely without the phenomenon of material transactions. After all, the law at this time is not sound, and it largely depends on the interpretation of law enforcement officers. In this era, we cannot say, buy, or sell, but give. You give me 1 kilogram of rice, and I'll give you 2 cents as a gesture of goodwill. That's okay. But if it's, buy, sell, then you have to enjoy the iron fist of social tools. After discussing the major social phenomena, I originally wanted to talk about these neighbors. After thinking about it, I decided to forget it. You all know Qin Huiru, He Yuzhu, Su Damao, and Grandpa 123. As for the only thing I didn't expect, Jia Dongshu hasn't died yet. To be honest, Wang Hao doesn't care about the complicated plot in this courtyard. The only thing he cares about now is when his stomach can stop growling. At this time, it's good to have a few sweet potatoes baked and eaten. That soft and sweet taste. Wang Hao thought silently in his heart, his saliva constantly swirling in his mouth. The auxiliary system has completed loading, taking 365 days. Detect if the host's physical condition is too weak, and force physical reinforcement. Just as he finished speaking, Wang Hao felt like an electric current was flowing through his body, stimulating every part of his skin. After about 10 minutes, the current disappeared and was replaced by Wang Hao's sharp muscles. He felt like he had an inexhaustible amount of strength all over him now, and he really wanted to go out and run 2 laps recklessly. The physical strengthening has been completed, and the farm space has been loaded. Wishing the host a speedy release. The system usage instructions have been forcibly loaded into the host's memory, and the intelligent prompt has been turned off. After 2 more mechanical sounds, Wang Hao felt a sudden memory in his mind that he didn't know from when, just as if he remembered it from birth. The SO. Called farm space is a large reinforced version of the farm, which only needs to input real seeds or livestock for automatic production. The time flow rate in the space is roughly equivalent to a real day, which looks like a year inside. At the same time of production, the space will automatically generate the materials required for its upgrade, and the upgraded space will only be slightly larger. There are no other features, which makes Wang Hao very uncomfortable. Others just bug after passing through time, and my own system has been loaded for a year. Fortunately, I had a hard time, otherwise I would have suffered a big loss if I starved to death earlier. And it seems like it didn't give itself anything, it didn't even give a beginner a big gift package or something. This damn thing, hey, wake up and go look for food. This dog system can't count on it anymore. Update irregularly every day, after all, not a professional writer. Let's take a look. Eunuchs are something I don't want. End of this chapter. Chapter 2. Looking at a mountain high. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2. Looking at a mountain high. Wang Hao woke up and found an awkward problem when he put on his clothes, which may be due to the system strengthening his body. His clothes were actually a bit short. Previously, Wang Hao was 167 meters tall, but now judging by his clothes, he is probably 180 meters tall, not short. This is very distressing, for Wang Hao, who is from a humble family. Making cotton cloth for clothes is much more difficult than eating. For a long time, Wang Hao had no choice but to tear off a corner of the blanket and sew it onto his pants and sleeves. Although it was not aesthetically pleasing, it could at least provide some warmth. After tidying up, I walked out and looked at the sun. It was probably around 9 or 10 o'clock. Wang Hao opened the door and saw Qin Huairu washing clothes by the pool again. In Wang Hao's impression, Qin Huairu seemed to be washing non-stop all year round. It has to be said that Qin Huairu is indeed beautiful. Her fair skin doesn't seem like a girl from a rural commune at all, and her plump figure is easy to raise. The place that should be big is big, the place that should be raised is raised. It has to be said that a daughter-in-law is better off than someone else's family. And Qin Huairu had a seductive demeanor from the bottom of her bones, coupled with her gentle appearance, which gave her a seductive feeling of embracing a pipa and half covering her face. Wang Hao, where are you going to search for food so early today? Wang Hao was mesmerized when he was interrupted by a male voice that seemed to be speaking with his throat clenched. Turning around, it was the projectionist Su Dumao. A lewd expression makes people nauseous, and the erratic gaze is even more repulsive. Wang Hao continued to ignore Su Dumao's mockery. Since the year Wang Hao traveled, Su Dumao has not stopped mocking him every day. At first, he was still a little angry, but later on, Wang Hao had no feelings because he was just flipping back and forth with those two words. Where can I find food to eat? Which garbage dump did you dig through again? Wang Hao walked straight outside the courtyard. At this point, squat at the entrance of the supply and marketing cooperative. If you're lucky, you can still pick up something. The people in the courtyard were all busy with their own affairs, but Yuli watched as Wang Hao hesitated to speak, unsure if it was a sarcastic remark or something else. The supply and marketing cooperative is not far from the courtyard house, and it's only a 10-minute walk away. Wang Hao, as usual, found some hay and sat at the door. When someone hurriedly picked the remaining rotten vegetables, they went to grab them. Don't be fooled by the fact that it's rotten food. There are also many people who come up with bad ideas, and their hands will be empty in an instant when they slow down. The morning passed leisurely. Today, Wang Hao's luck was not very good, so he grabbed a half-rotten sweet potato and a few rotten cabbage leaves. The cabbage leaves were so bad that they were clearly inedible, so Wang Hao had to throw them away casually. He doesn't dare to get sick. Only working workers have free medicine to take. He doesn't have it. He can't poison himself with 2 vegetable leaves, it's not worth it. Wang Hao returned to the courtyard, and every household was eating, except for himself, who wandered around like a homeless wild dog. Helpless, Wang Hao had no choice but to go back to his room and lie down. Lying down consumed less and he became hungry slower. As for the half-damaged sweet potato, Wang Hao casually threw it into the space and prepared to eat it with fire at night. After all, there is still one night to endure. The feeling of going hungry is very unpleasant, even sleeping is not comfortable. Fortunately, this sleep will also be considered as sleeping through the entire afternoon. After getting up, setting up the stove and adding firewood, Wang Hao went into the space and prepared to take out sweet potatoes to cook and eat. Although I really want to grill, grilling consumes more than cooking. There is still soup and skin to eat while cooking. Although grilling has a good taste, I can only eat a core. For Wang Hao today, the taste is not as affordable as it is. However, Wang Hao, who had just entered the space, was dumbfounded. The ground was covered in lush sweet potato seedlings, and that half of the sweet potato had long disappeared. After a moment of contemplation, Wang Hao understood the key point. When he was not there, the flow of time accelerated. This sweet potato spent more than half a year in space during this half-day period, and with the addition of reproduction, he had the green color in front of him. Not to mention anything else, this piece of land is enough time for me to eat. Sweet potato leaves and stems can be used to cook steamed buns, and sweet potatoes can also fill my stomach. Although I can't eat them all the time, with sweet potato seeds, at this pace of space, I can find someone to treat each other well early tomorrow morning. There is not enough food to eat these days, and there are quite a few people who exchange noodles for sweet potatoes and potatoes. I don't think about tomorrow for the time being. Let's start with a few big ones and eat them on grill. We must eat them on grill. Roast 2, eat 1 and see. The system is very considerate, automatically harvesting, retaining seeds, showing there were still over 60 kilograms of sweet potatoes left, and Wang Hao picked out a few larger ones to take out the space. The fire on the stove was hot, and a few sweet potatoes were roasted in a few minutes. The outer layer of burnt black skin was peeled off, and the sticky paste in the middle leaked out, making the sweet potato core smell very sweet. Wang Hao was like a starving ghost trying to survive, wolfing down his food. Who's roasting sweet potatoes here? The taste is too fragrant. I just can't make it through anymore, the food is so wasted. In these days and years, besides children, who could do this? I think it's probably a joke from the Jia family. Wang Hao didn't have the heart to listen to the gossip in the courtyard. He had eaten a few roasted sweet potatoes in one breath, which were a bit too sweet, and his mouth was full of other flavors. Even a mouthful of salt water is enough. Wang Hao's family is determined to have no salt, so he had to take 2 sips of warm water to relieve his greasiness. Don't worry, the feeling of being full is really comfortable. Wang Hao had eaten and drank enough, but still lay down on the bed as usual. As the old saying goes, full of warmth and lust is sincere and not deceiving. During a year of hunger, Wang Hao never felt bored or empty. I just had a full meal today and lay in bed for a while. This whole body is like long hair, tossing and turning, making it difficult to fall asleep. If only I had a phone, at least I could have a black and white TV. Obviously, that was just Wang Hao's imagination. Wang Hao, who couldn't sleep in the end, got up and prepared to take a stroll in the yard. It's already midnight now, and the people in the courtyard are all workers from the steel rolling mill. They have to go to work tomorrow and go to bed early. Wang Hao looked at the bright moon and stars in the sky. This was the first time he had come to this world to appreciate the scenery around him. It was so beautiful. I don't know how parents and brothers are in that world. Hey, after all, I can't go back. Let's take care of myself first. Wang Hao, who had gathered his thoughts and was about to return to his room, suddenly heard an unusual sound. The sound was so faint that it was almost imperceptible. If it weren't for the quiet environment of this era, it would definitely be inaudible. Wang Hao followed the sound and arrived at the entrance of the cellar. The kerosene lamp flickered in the cellar, and through the cracks, he could vaguely see the shadows of the 2 people, along with the sound coming out. The 2 people here are probably 100% having an affair. You know, in this era this kind of thing is called breaking shoes. Wang Hao wanted to figure out who the 2 people inside were, but his voice was muffled and his specific faces couldn't be seen through the crack in the door. Hey, what does it have to do with me if they mess with broken shoes? Let's go home. Listening to the walls arched fire. There was nothing to say overnight. The next day, Wang Hao woke up early and rushed to the supply and marketing cooperative. Every morning, the cooperative would always queue up like a long queue to purchase goods. Wang Hao came so early to give away his sweet potatoes. After his constant inquiries, sales, 50 pounds of sweet potatoes were finally given to an uncle in his 40s, who responded by giving him 8.5 yuan, along with a grain receipt for 1 pound of white noodles. Overall, it's not a loss. After delivering the sweet potatoes, Wang Hao strode towards the rolling mill. Today is his day of employment. Don't underestimate it, everyone. I'll write a piece of music, you watch a piece of music, I think that's enough, right? End of this chapter. Chapter 3. Men want to join the right industry. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3. Men want to join the right industry. On his first visit to the factory, Wang Hao felt very frustrated. In the previous life, I was still an undergraduate student, but in this life, I have to work hard. Of course, such words can only be thought of in his heart. Whenever he dares to speak out, someone will immediately sting him. Joking, in this era, workers are glorious and labor is great. Do you dare to speak the opposite? Do you know how heavy the iron fist of society is? When he arrived at the personnel department, he took out his household registration book and other proof, and the personnel department was preparing to arrange for him to join. I saw a middle-aged man wearing a black Zhongshan suit coming to the door. It looks like a leader. Comrade Yang, hello. Well, you too. Are you Wang Shisheng's kid? Director Yang spoke and looked at Wang Hao with his eyes. Yes, Director Yang, my father's name is indeed Wang Shisheng. Not bad, look at this physique. It's even stronger than your father's. I heard your father say you went to high school before. Yes, but I dropped out of school later. Wang Hao lowered his head, wondering if he was missing Wang Shisheng or his parents. Don't be sad either. The deceased is already gone, but the living still need to look forward. Your parents are heroes of our factory, and you also have an education. Don't go to the workshop, become a clerk intern first. Upgrade faster in the future. Director Yang clearly took good care of Wang Hao, but it is unclear what thoughts and reasons were behind it. In this era, there were only two types of salary systems. One was the political system, which means clerks. If they can be promoted in the future, they can be considered grassroots civil servants. Another type is the technical system, which refers to workers. Level 8 workers refer to the top technical workers in this system. Level 8 workers are engineers and do not belong to workers anymore. Okay. How do you arrange for me to do it? Hahaha, okay, are there any departments you want to go to? Director Yang smiled heartily and patted Wang Hao's shoulder. I want to go to the logistics department, I'm not sure if I can work as a purchaser. Just kidding, the reputation of the 8 great staff still has some lingering power in later generations, and the purchaser of this era is the one among the 8 great staff who is both safe and well paid. It's definitely not realistic to do it directly. There are rules there, but you can go to the logistics department to intern with the old procurement team first, and then become a regular and directly assign you there. After whispering to the personnel department, Director Yang left. Wang Hao was eventually arranged to follow an old purchaser named Chen Shi in the logistics department. Through a morning of contact, Wang Hao learned that Chen Shi's family has 8 children, 5 females and 3 males. The eldest is already 18 years old and has started working, while the youngest is only over 3 years old. Although he is a level 5 clerk with a monthly salary of 49.5 yuan, it is still difficult for him to support such a large family. Fortunately, his eldest daughter has been supporting the family for the past 2 years. The job of a purchaser is relatively easy, and the main task is to collect enough materials in this society with scarce resources. The general time spent going out is longer than the time spent in the factory, and the more eye-catching advantage is that the factory provides bicycles. Although it's a car from the factory, it's always for personal use. Master, which cafeteria should we go to for lunch? The Red Star Steel Rolling Plant is a large factory with 10,000 people, and one canteen is obviously not enough. There are 3 canteens in the factory, but the workers in the 3rd canteen generally cannot enter. They only use the small stove of the leader or when there is a reception. Workers usually go to the 1st cafeteria, while clerks usually go to the 2nd cafeteria. We can go anywhere except for the 3rd canteen, the other 2 are almost the same. We can handle 1 bite. Chen Shi is somewhat absent-minded about this issue. Wang Hao is different. He has always wanted to taste the legendary craftsmanship of the silly pillar. Master, isn't that right? Didn't he usually from the 1st cafeteria say he's a master at cooking? How could he handle it? Do you still want to eat small pot dishes? It's rare for him to make a big pot dish himself. Don't be too picky, after all, the cafeteria is affordable and the quantity is large enough to fill your stomach. Chen Shi felt that the young man in front of him was somewhat idealistic. To put it simply, it's a bit taken for granted. This habit is not a good thing for buyers. The technique of price reduction lies in insight into one's thoughts, and if one takes it too far for granted, it will inevitably lead to incorrect results. It's okay, after all, I'm still young and should learn slowly. Chen Shi thought while walking towards the 1st cafeteria with his apprentice whom he had just taken in today. Yo, isn't this ma chef? You can't shake the spoon anymore today, otherwise you won't be able to eat enough. Chen Shi handed over his lunch box while speaking. When Chen Shi finished playing and it was Wang Hao's turn, Ma Hua looked at Wang Hao with empty hands and said impatiently. Comrade, are you planning to eat with both hands? Ah. Wang Hao was left speechless by this sudden mockery. Is there no plate in this era? Ah, what? Where's your lunch box? Do you want to take it? Don't waste your time if you don't take it. That's right. That's all for lunch. Hurry up. Chen Shi stopped his chopsticks when he heard the noise here and looked at Wang Hao, who was a bit stunned. He stepped forward and pulled him to his seat. You didn't bring your lunch box when you came to eat. It was also my negligence that I didn't notice. You should use mine first. Wang Hao could feel Chen Shi's kindness, and after refusing, he also used Chen Shi's soup-filled lunchbox to prepare meals. As the first normal meal that Wang Hao had eaten in this world, it was not to mention how delicious it was. The appearance of wolfing down food left those around stunned. In the afternoon, Chen Shi took Wang Hao to the warehouse to collect his bicycle, and then took him to the factory for a walk around before arriving at the end of the workday. Master, if you don't mind tonight, I would like to treat you to a meal. I don't mind if I mind, but not today. I have to go home to see my wife and children today. I just came back from the countryside, so I can't drink too much on the first day. Let's reschedule, it will be a long time from now on. After speaking, Chen Shi rode away with his cheerful laughter on his bike. Wang Hao looked at his distant figure and chuckled as he rode his bicycle home. Returning to the courtyard, the 3rd master Yan Bugui was playing with his salted fish jerky that had been flipped over countless times at the door. Seeing Wang Hao riding his bicycle back, he couldn't help but speak up. Wang Hao, I have a car now. I'll get a car on my first day of work. Can't we put on a good show? 3rd master, you should count the others. I, a poor bachelor who has eaten a meal but never finished, don't have any money to put on a show. Wang Hao smiled and pushed his bicycle, talking to his self-proclaimed shrewd 3rd uncle. You're right, but don't worry, just wait until you pay your salary and pay for the food. Don't forget to treat yourself then. Okay, 3rd master, I will definitely treat you first. Upon hearing Wang Hao's kind words, Yan Bugui's face lit up with joy. That expression was as if he had really calculated something. When I got home, I took out a pound of white noodles and various seasonings that I had bought on the way. The ticket for the seasoning was still borrowed by Wang Hao from Chen Shi in the factory. Wang Hao is planning to use this noodles mixed with sweet potato leaves to make a steamed bun. Following his mother's approach in the previous life, Wang Hao carefully recalled the restoration step by step, and the taste of the final product was not much different. The only thing missing is that mouthful of soy sauce, with stains. The taste is really good. Wang Hao sat on the doorstep eating steamed buns and noticed that Qin Huairu always looked at him from time to time. What was going on? However, at this time, the Jia family. Wang Hao, who is a desperate household, is both a bicycle and a cabbage bun today. I don't know how to be polite to my old lady. He deserves to be an orphan. He didn't know that Dongxiu had lost money these past few days, and we didn't even have food to eat. This is a dead-end household. Jian'an looked at Wang Hao on the threshold through the gap in the window and cursed incessantly. Qin Huairu sighed helplessly upon hearing her mother-in-law's curse. There was nothing to say overnight. The next day, the sweet potatoes in Wang Hao's space were already over 400 pounds, and the sweet potato leaves were also 100 pounds smaller. Early in the morning, I ran to the entrance of the supply and marketing cooperative and delivered all my belongings. In total, I was given 36 yuan and 2 one-pound meat tickets. This wave was not a loss again. But now that he has money, Wang Hao has obtained some rice, wheat, vegetables, radishes, and a few carrot seeds to put in the space. As for the chicken and duck seedlings, he has also obtained 2 pairs to put in. For the other meat, he has no idea how to get the seedlings, so Wang Hao has no choice but to give up. I originally wanted to spend all the meat tickets, but I was afraid it would take too long to put them in the space. Don't break them again. Thinking about it, Wang Hao first bought a pound and threw it into the space to see the situation. The working hours of the day passed quickly, and before we knew it, it was time to finish work again. Go to the supply and marketing cooperative and spend the remaining pound of meat tickets, carrying the meat and walking back. Returning to the courtyard, it's better to just crawl back home and wipe and eat. Today, I had meat and was preparing to cook some oil. I went into the space to take a look at the meat that was thrown in this morning. The color is still as bright as when I first bought it, without any signs of spoilage. Wang Hao probably understood that time only has an accelerating effect on live crops and livestock in space. The chickens and ducks I bought this morning have already laid a pile of eggs, and I can't help but feel that this golden finger is indeed amazing. Wang Hao took a few chicken and duck eggs, and left the rest in the space to see if any chicks would hatch out tomorrow. When making chicken and duck seedlings in the morning, we considered the issue of later hatching and specially made both males and females available. Man proposes, God disposes. Whether it can be hatched or not will depend on the results tomorrow. Out of space, Wang Hao turned a pound of fat into oil. The remaining pound of meat and oil residue were stir-fried with vegetables in the space. Not to mention that pork fat and stir-fried vegetables are indeed delicious. In this era where meat is hidden at the bottom of a bowl, Wang Hao's incessant consumption of meat and oil refining has caught the attention of others. Who cooks here? It smells like meat. It seems to be the smell coming from Wang Hao. That's right, there's a job here. A bachelor wouldn't just have to eat, drink, and drink. Wang Hao didn't care about the voices of the others until Lu Xiaoa in the backyard shouted at Wang Hao, "Xiao Hao, bring me a portion to taste." For Lu Xiaoa and Wang Hao, they are still quite concerned. As for the reason, let's first explain it. Wang Hao made some of the dishes and sent them to the backyard. Make Lu Xiaoa happy and praise Wang Hao directly. But Jian'an, who was opposite Wang Hao, was not willing. This dead Wang Hao deserves his death. He knows how to deliver to the backyard, but doesn't he know how to deliver some to our old Jia family? He deserves to be an orphan, he deserves to be extinct. He's an extinct family like Silly Pillar. At this moment, Jia Dongxiu and Qin Huairu were both at home, listening to the old lady's curse, and Qin Huairu dared not speak. As for Jia Dongxiu, there was nothing to say, and he even had a hint of agreement in his heart. Wang Hao, you're flipping over and singing. I still have 2 bottles of wine, what's going on? Let's have a quarrel. Siheyuan stood at the door and shouted to Wang Hao, who was delivering food back. Brother Zhu, if you're willing to come, of course I don't mind. Hey, that's right. I just like your little brother, not to mention anything else, sensible. You wait, I'll come over right away. Wang Hao, even this silly pillar can go, can I go? Su Dumao's smirk on his face really didn't make Wang Hao like it, but there was no need to argue about it. Of course, Brother Mao, come if you want. Sure, wait for me, I'll be there soon. Dongxiu, you can go too, go eat at the end of the household. Mom, our family has never helped Wang Hao, so there's no excuse to go and eat. You go, as long as he doesn't speak, you can go eat directly. After finishing, bring the rest to the Duan family. Let's also try it, we haven't seen any oil stars for a long time. Jia Dongxiu was instigated by Jia Zhangshi and even walked out of the door, while Qin Huairu silently swallowed saliva behind him. I hope he can get some leftovers tonight. When a few people arrived at Wang Hao's doorstep, Siheyuan and Su Dumao unexpectedly united front to confront Jia Dongxiu. Yo, isn't this comrade Jia Dongxiu? Wang Hao didn't shout at you, did he? What are you doing here empty-handed? Dumao, you don't understand that. Some people watch others eat more delicious than themselves, and they estimate that comrade Jia Dongxiu may be like this. Oh, what I'm saying, it's not like that, I'm in the cafeteria. I've seen so many people like this. Jia Dongxiu remained silent about their mockery and looked at Wang Hao with a slightly hot expression on his face. As the saying goes, if a sister-in-law is good, a brother must be well surrounded. Wang Hao also said, Brother Zhu, Brother Mao, since Brother Su is here, it's just about adding a pair of chopsticks. Let's eat first. Brother Zhu, I still have some vegetables and chicken and duck eggs over there. How many more dishes will you make? Okay, I'll let you taste my brother's ancestral craft. Siheyuan made 3 more vegetables and 1 scrambled egg. During the dinner, the 4 people pushed their cups to change. Siheyuan and Su Dumao brought a total of 4 bottles of baijiu and drank them all. Wang Hao once again gained a deeper understanding of Siheyuan's tiger power, Su Dumao's gloom, and Jia Dongxiu's external strength but internal strength. Wang Hao doesn't remember when they left, nor does he remember how he got into bed. I only remember that in the end, it seemed like Siheyuan and Jia Dongxiu started working. At midnight, Wang Hao woke up from thirst. Wang Hao, who had just opened his eyes, heard something moving in the kitchen. Wang Hao's first reaction was to recruit thieves. So he quietly touched the kitchen with a wooden stick, saying that it was actually a small space separated by wooden boards, or in Wang Hao's room. Wang Hao, who touched the kitchen door, was startled by the people in the kitchen. Little brother, I would like to nag all the big shots about anything that is too outrageous. I hope you don't hesitate to give me your advice. Hold your fists. End of this chapter. Chapter 4. Eating meat for the first time. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4. Eating meat for the first time under the moonlight outside, Wang Hao could see the jade figure in the kitchen clearly. It is Yuli, the eldest daughter-in-law of the 3 masters in the front yard. That beautiful face and a curvaceous figure appear even more alluring against the moonlight. It may be due to alcohol, or it may just be that Wang Haozuan was guided by the most primitive desires from the depths of his heart. He quietly threw down the wooden stick and tiptoed behind Yuli, reaching out to embrace her with both hands. The feel is really good. Yuli was startled by Wang Hao's sudden embrace and instinctively wanted to shout for help. If you want everyone else to know that you're coming to my room, just shout out loud and see if they believe you or me. Listening to Wang Hao's threatening words, Yu Lisheng stopped the urge to shout. Wang Hao, can you spare me once? I know I was wrong, and I will definitely not come again next time. Is that okay? Wang Hao ignored Yu Li's pleading gaze, but disregarded her struggles and intervened to lift her onto the bed. No matter how much the rabbit struggles in the mouth of the big bad wolf, it will be of no use. After feeling bored for a while, Yu Li put on her clothes and tiptoed back to the front yard. As for why she came to steal food, we have a clear understanding. Tonight, the third uncle Yan Bugui asked Yan Jie to buy a meal ticket for dinner. Yan Jiecheng was idle all day, and where did he get the meal ticket? Although Yu Li has been doing odd jobs nearby, it has not yet started today. To put it bluntly, Yan Bugui refused to take in any oil or salt and didn't even let the young couple eat a bite of rice. Instead, he kept saying his catchphrase. You can't be poor in food, you can't be poor in drink, you can't plan to be poor. I had originally planned to let go of hunger, but unexpectedly, when I woke up in the middle of the night, Yu Li noticed that Wang Hao's door was half closed. She also thought of the scene where he cooked meat and drank alcohol last night, and in the end, she walked in by some strange means. In the end, the absurdity that followed happened. However, Wang Hao promised Li that she could come and eat meat anytime she wanted, but it was only for her to eat on her own. In Wang Hao's words, I won't raise a man for you. After Yu Li left, the sky outside had turned white with fish bellies. Wang Hao is not tired at all now. For a pure-hearted old man who has been together for over 40 years, it is the first time he has eaten meat today, and he cannot say whether he is excited or anything else in his heart. Anyway, it's very comfortable. Anyway, he couldn't sleep either. Wang Hao fiddled with the space for a while again, and there were indeed quite a few chicken and duck eggs hatched. The space is now lush and lively, with chickens crowing and ducks crowing. After simple harvesting and sowing, Wang Hao also washed his clothes before getting up to work. For the harvest, Wang Hao is no longer prepared to promote it, not because it is difficult to sell, but because it is too easy to sell. As for selling it to the pigeon market, it's even worse. The pigeon market is simply the result of turning a blind eye to the market. There were no abnormalities, and they were too lazy to ask. If there were any abnormalities, that place would definitely be the first to be surrounded. For other materials that he cannot consume, Wang Hao currently has no other good way. I can only take one step and see one step. Dongshu, where was the leftover food I asked you to serve yesterday? Early in the morning, Jia Zhang woke up and saw her son sleeping soundly in bed. She looked around but didn't find any trace of leftover food. Did you steal food from us last night? You little slut from the countryside. Qin Huairu has once again become a target. Mom, it's not her. I drank too much last night and didn't bring any dishes. Jia Dongshu rubbed his still slightly painful head and spoke out. Oh, you white-eyed wolf. Why did I give birth to something like you? Lao Jia, come and take me away. I don't have much meaning to live anymore. Lao Jia, open your eyes and take a look. As a soul summoner, Jia Zhang clearly finished her ultimate move CD and once again presented her invincible soul summoning technique. Jia Dongshu saw that this old lady was about to throw a tantrum again, so he got up and went to work as if fleeing. As for Ding Li, she is currently arguing fiercely with Yan Jicheng. What did you do last night? I told you to go to the bathroom, but if you don't believe me, why are you asking me? You shameless thing, who do you say he is? Think whatever you like, don't disturb me. Just take a nap. I'm too lazy to talk to you. Sleep. Why don't you get up and go to work? Are you still asleep? You're not ready to eat. He Yan Jicheng, you can also be considered a man. You don't do anything, just pointing at your wife's salary every day, and your family. You've been calculating so much all day. I haven't seen how good you guys are. I'm really satisfied. Yuli, I advise you to speak carefully. What's going on? You still want to take action against me, can't you? I'll tell you, it's a new era now, you dare to give it a try. I really look down on you like this. As they were arguing, Yuli saw Wang Hao passing by the window and didn't know what was on her mind. Xiu's face immediately rose with a seductive blush on her cheeks. Looking at her appearance, Yan Jicheng understood no matter how dull he was, and immediately stood up to look out the window. However, Wang Hao disappeared long ago because he walked by bike. Only Jia Dongxiu, who was annoyed by Jia Zhang, walked and greeted him with a silly smile. Jia Dongxiu, I'm cursing your mother. Yan Jicheng roared and ran towards Jia Dongxiu. Jia Dongxiu saw Yan Jicheng's cannibalistic expression and inexplicably ran away. Jia Dongxiu, I'm cursing your mother. Please stop me. At this moment, Jia Zhang sneezed and his left eye kept twitching. Is there something good going to happen? Today at the factory, Wang Hao had a rough understanding of the procurement process. Tomorrow, he will follow his master Chen Shi to start going to the countryside to produce materials. So today he and Chen Shi agreed to have dinner together tonight. Wang Hao means to have a meal at a restaurant outside the factory. However, considering that he has just started working, Chen Shi said that he can only have a simple meal at his home. Wang Hao couldn't resist him, so he had to agree. However, under Wang Hao's repeated insistence, Chen Shi also agreed to take his family to his house for a visit. After work, Chen Shi went home to pick up his wife and children, while Wang Hao went to find He Yuzhu. Brother Zhu, I would like to treat my master to dinner tonight. You are good at cooking, can you help me prepare a few dishes tonight? How many dishes? Let me look back. There hasn't been much hospitality in the factory lately, and there isn't much leftover food. I'll try my best. He Yuzhu thought that Wang Hao wanted him to bring leftovers from the factory to him. No, Brother Zhu, I have vegetables at home and I would like you to help me with the cooking. I can give you money, and I'll give you as much as you need to work outside. Do you have 5 yuan? Line. That's it, I'll go to your place right away. Line. Agreed with He Yuzhu, Wang Hao walked home in advance. His supplies were still in the space, and he needed to find a place in advance to take them out of the space. They should not be discovered by others to avoid unnecessary trouble. Everyone, if you have tickets or something, please give them up. I hope everyone can comment more. I clenched my fists. End of this chapter. Chapter 5. First encounter of snowy plums and snowy poems. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5. First encounter of snowy plums and snowy poems. On his way back to the courtyard, Wang Hao found a quiet alley and took out 2 chickens and 1 duck from the space, as well as various other vegetables, including flour made in the space. Putting things in the back seat of the car, Wang Hao continued to depart back to the courtyard. Wang Hao lamented that fortunately, this era did not have the ubiquitous heavenly eyes of later generations, otherwise it would have been a bit troublesome. He Yuzhu was quite punctual. Not long after Wang Hao arrived home, he arrived at Wang Hao's house. He took 5 yuan from Wang Hao's hand and then went into the kitchen to work hard. It has to be said that He Yuzhu's craftsmanship is indeed very good. Normally, the aroma of Wang Hao's own cooking is already very strong, and now the dishes made by He Yuzhu have an extremely strong aroma. Where did this fragrance come from? It smells like stewed chicken. It seems to be coming from Wang Hao's side again. How much money does this kid eat like this all day long enough to make him like this? Listening to the constant chatter in the courtyard, Wang Hao had not yet reacted. On the contrary, an old man named Yi Zhonghai couldn't sit still and let out a loud roar, causing a sudden silence. After shouting, he looked deeply at the direction of the second and third masters and didn't know what he was thinking. Dongxiu, look at you, that damn orphan is stewing meat again. You keep going, keep eating him, he's an orphan. Jia Dongxiu looked at the direction of Wang Hao's house and unconsciously swallowed his saliva. The footsteps also began to approach Wang Hao's house non-stop. In the invisible corner of his and Jia Zhang's gaze, Qin Huairu was also unconsciously swallowing saliva. After all, at this time, ordinary families may not even be able to eat meat once a month, especially those like Wang Hao who occasionally eat meat. Being able to eat enough is already considered a prosperous life. Su Damao and his family don't know what they went for, they haven't been seen for 2 days. As for the deaf old lady, there has been an old man named Yi Zhonghai who has been taking her to his own home for dinner these past few days. In a courtyard, only Jia Zhang kept cursing in the corner. "Brother Su, why are you here?" "So what, when I got home from work, I found out that my family had already eaten. I was wondering if I could deal with you." Jia Dongxiu himself doesn't believe his words, let alone Wang Hao. "That's really unlucky today. I'm going to have a guest soon, and it's really difficult to entertain you today. You can go to another house and take a look." "Sorry, Brother Su." Oh, it's okay, I don't eat much." "It's not like that. There will be a lot of people coming soon, and my family can't sit down. You can go back first, Brother Su." Wang Hao's actions were equivalent to directly expelling guests, and Jia Dongxiu was too embarrassed to squat down again. "I had no choice but to chat and go home." As he walked back, he muttered fiercely, "You deserve to be an orphan, not even giving you a bite to eat. You deserve the old lady to scold you. You are a desperate person." Not long after Jia Dongxiu left, Chen Shi and his family arrived in a grand manner. It has to be said that a family of 7 or 8 children is really lively. Today, He Yuzhu cooked 8 dishes in total. Fortunately, the amount was enough, and he steamed a large pot of mantou. "I'm not afraid of not having enough to eat." Chen Shi's family couldn't help but swallow their saliva when they saw that there were 5 meat dishes out of 8 dishes. Even Chen Shi didn't expect Wang Hao to create such a feast. "I originally thought that adding pickled vegetables to stick noodles would fill me up, but this was a bit unexpected." After everything was busy, He Yuzhu didn't stay to eat, but went home with 2 lunch boxes. After taking his seat, Chen Shi began to introduce his wife and a group of children. Chen Shi's wife's name is Lu Chuiyi, from a rural area. She looks like a virtuous wife and good mother, but now she works full-time at home to take care of children, especially in rural areas where she cannot find formal employment in the city. Chen Shi's children were named after the poet Chu Daxiang's poem Ode to Plum Blossoms, which reads, "When the plum blossoms are clear, the sun is clear, and the direction is clear to the people." Coincidentally, his children are of the learning generation, and the girl's name with the word learning is not very pleasant to hear, so she chose the homophonic character, snow, for learning. The boy uses learn. The eldest to the 5th are girls, and the 6th to the 8th are boys, as if lined up. The eldest Chen Xuemei, the 2nd Chen Xuesher, the 3rd Chen Xiefeng. All the way to the 8th Chen Xuexiang, these poems, phoenixes. Xiang are also homophonic characters taken from the words in the poem. From this, it can also be seen that Chen Shi is somewhat cultured. Otherwise, according to their age, they would definitely be patriotic, liberated, anti-American, and aid to North Korea. Among the several children, the eldest Chen Xuemei and Wang Hao are both 18 years old, the 2nd is 16 years old, the 3rd is 15 years old, the 4th is 13 years old. A few girls look like the last line of their name poem, "It's hard to hide the fragrance of snow." Especially Chen Xuemei, the relationship Chen Shi has found is now working at a subsidiary of the Hongqing steel rolling plant, which can be considered as a cost for the plant. Skin like jade is probably the best word to describe her. My personality also belongs to the kind of little bird leaning towards people, which really gives me a feeling of being a jade in a small family. Chen Xuesher, the 2nd in command, appears carefree and somewhat reminiscent of a woman from later generations. The 3rd person, Chen Xiefeng, has a personality similar to that of her mother, who is quiet and dull. A meal is suitable for both guests and guests, especially Chen Shuesher, the second daughter of Chen Shi, who is clamoring to come to Wang Hao's place frequently for a meal in the future. Wang Hao agreed with a happy expression on his face. Seeing off Chen Shi and his family, Wang Hao silently opened an old notebook lost in the corner, not knowing what he was memorizing. At the same time, he was bitter and resentful, with a cold and terrifying expression on his face. Wang Hao didn't close the door today, and I don't know if Yuli will come tonight. Wang Hao kept the door open, and the rest of the meat and vegetables were kept warm on the stove. Wang Hao really hoped she would come. But thinking of the fierce argument she had with Yan Jiecheng in the morning, I don't think she might come back tonight. In the middle of the night, Wang Hao was awakened by a rustling noise. Opening my eyes, I saw Yuli sitting by the bed, smiling at me like a flower. Wang Hao sat up instantly. I'm not tired anymore. But he said to Li first, I left you meat and mantou to warm on the stove. You can eat them first. Well, it's not bad. You still remember me. After speaking, Yuli got up and went to eat meat. Wow, is your food so good? Pure white flour mantou, this day is not enough. Just eat it for you, I won't miss you in the future. As Wang Hao spoke, his hands began to be dishonest. How can I eat like this? Then don't eat for now, exercise first before eating. Hurry up and eat the food first. Well, it's still good. I'm really enough for Yan Jiecheng's family. I have to calculate everything, even if I don't have a ticket for a meal, I still have to keep an account. From now on, I'll only be with you, Brother Hao. You can't abandon me. No, as long as you're with me, I won't abandon you. You're only with me, what about Yan Jiecheng? Don't mention him, just looking at him makes you angry. Do you still want to look at your woman and other men? Of course not. You can decide for yourself. Let's go eat first. He kissed Wang Hao on the mouth and went to eat. Actually, it's normal for someone like Yuli to be placed in later generations, and they may still be of higher quality. After all, she only has one Yan Jiecheng. How many of those who cohabit before getting married in later generations, who knows? But in the future, those are just big girls, no matter how many hands they have. You dare to say that not only she herself, but also those boxers, who can spare you. Yuli, this is I understand everything. Don't understand if you don't understand, it's quite annoying. We have already signed a contract, please rest assured to invest. End of this chapter. Chapter 6. Is it a blessing or a curse? You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6. Is it a blessing or a curse? Wang Hao was originally going to the countryside with Chen Shi the next day to collect supplies. Because the factory is approaching the Chinese New Year and has issued new tasks and targets, Chen Shi needs to develop new plans and regions. In this era, due to inconvenient communication, a few phone calls in the future were delayed for a whole 2 days. 2 days later, Chen Shi and Wang Hao finally embarked on their journey to the countryside. The destination for this trip is Red Star Commune, the hometown of Qin Jingru and Qin Huairu. Chen Shi inquired from multiple sources and heard that the Red Star Commune had a good harvest this year, so he wanted to try his luck. In these years, even if there is a bountiful harvest, it is not certain whether one will receive something. After all, money is not enough to be full. People in the countryside like to store grain. If there is grain in the warehouse, they don't feel anxious. Although the Red Star Commune was located in the suburbs of Beijing, due to poor roads, Wang Hao and Chen Shi rode for a long time to arrive. As soon as he arrived at the village, Chen Shi chatted passionately with the passing elderly people, as if they were relatives coming from afar. This is Wang Hao's first time going to the countryside, following Chen Shi silently while watching and learning. 10 minutes later, Chen Shi took Wang Hao to the commune, and this kind of procurement is usually directly connected with the commune. Throughout the afternoon, Wang Hao was listening to Chen Shi and the commune offering and bargaining prices. Finally, we purchased some cured meat and noodles for 100 yuan plus a sewing plane ticket. Although the deal was agreed upon, Chen Shi's face showed no signs of joy. Upon careful inquiry, it was discovered that Chen Shi came out with a mission, requiring each person to purchase at least 2 chickens and 20 pounds of meat. Other materials vary. Although the target for cured meat has been achieved, the chicken has made Chen Shi worried. These days, no one will sell the chicken that lays eggs. After all, 1 egg a day is more practical than enjoying it all at once. Master, I'll come up with a solution about the chicken. Don't worry. Let's go back to the city now. What can you do? I won't go back today. I'll take you to my cabin to make ends meet for the night. I'll go up the mountain tomorrow to see if I can hunt something. I'll go back to the city tomorrow evening or the morning after tomorrow. Okay. It's not easy to explain my method clearly, but I guarantee I can get it. I won't steal or rob. In this era, there are some paths that cannot be seen in the light. As long as you don't die on your own, no one will delve deeper into the details. After Wang Hao finished speaking, he followed Chen Shi all the way to the small house he mentioned, which was built with wooden boards and various branches. In fact, Wang Hao felt that the name, shed, might be more accurate. Apart from a few blankets and a kerosene lamp, there were also some hunting tools in the room, and Wang Hao even found a local gun among them. Silent all night. The next day, as soon as the sky started to rise, Wang Hao was called by Chen Shi from his bed. This point has the most prey. Chen Shi took the tools and gave Wang Hao an axe to put on his body just in case. The two of them chatted and laughed along the way. Chen Shi was familiar with the way and quickly led Wang Hao into the deep mountains and forests. Chen Shi first went to check the trap set before leaving last time, but found nothing. One trap was clearly triggered, which was that the prey was missing. It is unclear whether it escaped again or was seen and picked up by others. These days, the mountains are almost cleaned up by people. What kind of ghost day are these? Chen Shi was setting new traps while complaining. Master, are we going to get out of the cage now? You don't need to search for it. It's no use looking for it. There may be more people than animals on this mountain these days. I usually don't do anything about luck. But today is your first time going up the mountain. Let's go take a walk and try our luck to see if your luck can attract 2 little ones. Okay, thank you, Master. I'm really interested in this. The master and disciple were chatting and strolling in the mountains. Approaching noon, the two finally heard some movement. Chen Shi looked like a formidable enemy, pulling Wang Hao back slowly. Master, what's wrong with this? Don't make a sound, the one in front of us is a wild boar. It's too big for us to take it. Let's go quickly. Don't you have a gun? What are you afraid of? Why don't we fuck him? You idiot, look at the tree with a broken bark in the northwest ahead. It's the scratch of a wild boar. Judging from that, this pig weighs at least 200 pounds. Can't beat it. We can't fight it anymore. A wild boar weighing tens or even hundreds of pounds is no longer within our imagination. With such a large size, we can take off together. Knowing the seriousness of the situation, Wang Hao stopped procrastinating and slowly retreated step by step with Chen Shi, afraid of startling the animal ahead. The sky didn't meet people's wishes, and the beast somehow came towards us. Run! With Chen Shi's shout, the two of them began to run wildly. But the speed of the two cannot compare to that of the big wild boar behind them. I don't know what this beast looks like, it's over a meter tall. Big and round, you can tell at a glance that the taste is definitely good. You just need to have a life to eat. As he was about to be caught up, Chen Shi suddenly stood up and roared at the wild boar. The beast, seeing Chen Shi's appearance, thought it was about to compete with itself, and held its ground. It slowly took a few steps back, preparing for a wild charge. After dominating the mountains and forests for so many years, it has never encountered an opponent that can rival it. Wang Hao saw Qianshi stop, and he also stopped in his tracks. Although he didn't know what he was thinking, he had an expression of being ready to face the enemy at any time. My eyes are also constantly looking around. What are you stopping for? Hurry up and leave. I'll entangle it. If I can escape, your kid owes me a meal of wine. If I can't escape, your master's wife and others will take care of me. Let's go quickly. Qianshi finished speaking with a relaxed expression on his face and even smiled at Wang Hao. Wang Hao knew that he had accepted the worst outcome. Wang Hao didn't speak or move, instead he was completely focused on staring at the wild boar. You idiot, what do you want? Qianshi noticed that Wang Hao's movements were not like running, but rather wanting to confront the wild boar head-on, and his voice was also somewhat anxious. As soon as he finished speaking, he saw Wang Hao take 2 steps back like a wild boar and then rush out at lightning speed. Qianshi looked at this kid who had just been with him for a few days. Although he liked this kid very much, he also died in his recklessness today. Hey! With a sigh, Qianshi was about to turn around and run away when his eyes widened. It turned out that Wang Hao lay on the ground halfway through, with the axe in his hand, the handle of which was against a huge stone buried in the soil, and the blade of the axe charging up, facing the beast. The beast hurriedly lowered its head when it saw Wang Hao lying down, wanting to knock out this provocative guy. Animals are animals that fall into traps without realizing it. It hit the axe with one end, the handle broke in 2, and the blade of the axe was firmly embedded in its head. Under the pain of eating, it also lost its way and bounced around aimlessly. Wang Hao hurriedly ran a distance to look at it. This animal's vitality is indeed tenacious, even with so many axes in its head, it can still jump so fast. Wang Hao's right hand was also injured at the sharp point of the broken handle of the axe, with visible bones. The next step is to wait for this beast to slowly die. Qianshi took out some anti-inflammatory drugs he had with him, ground them into powder and evenly sprinkled them on Wang Hao's wound. Then, he pulled a piece of cloth from his shirt and made a simple bandage for him. The wild boar struggled for more than 10 minutes before falling down without any movement. Qianshi stepped forward and pulled out the axe blade from its head, weighing it to over 200 pounds. Hurriedly dragging towards the foot of the mountain. When he arrived at the shed, Qianshi dug out a medical bag and did a more detailed bandage on Wang Hao's hand. The only thing he could do now was this. The rest will be taken to the hospital for treatment after returning to the city. As for the wild boar, it was cut in half by Qianshi without shedding its fur. Its organs were packed in a large bag, and its meat was tied to 2 bicycles. It had to take Wang Hao to the city overnight. Because the first Wang Hao's hand injury definitely requires going to the hospital. It's normal for such a big pig to be robbed in the 2nd generation, and the public security in this era is not that good. Dude, we've signed a contract, buddy. Hurry up investment. Hey buddy. End of this chapter. Chapter 7. Breaking the Rules and Becoming a Regular Employee. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7. Breaking the Rules and Becoming a Regular Employee. Wang Hao and Qianshi rushed back to the city early in the morning. Because it was too late, the 2 of them had to deal with me at Wang Hao's house for a while. In the morning, before everyone got up, the 2 of them rode their bikes towards the factory area. Wang Hao's hand injury didn't feel much pain yesterday, but today it feels particularly painful. After handing over the supplies, I'm ready to go to the factory hospital to see my hands. By the time the logistics department started working, it was already 8 or 9 o'clock. Director Wang of the logistics department saw the wild boar brought by the 2 people. As it was not purchased normally and the quantity was too large, he quickly reported it to the factory leaders. For a long time, a group of leading cadres dressed in Zhongshan suits came to the 2 of them and asked for warmth and comfort. Director Yang nodded to Wang Hao with a hint of meaning. After Chen added fuel and vinegar to his description, the factory leaders were even more impressed by the hard-won nature of wild boar meat. Subsequently, a group of leaders comforted Wang Hao one after another and instructed him to hurry up and deal with the injury on his hand. Director Yang made a promise and praised the two people on the field. In addition, Chen was promoted to level 4 as a clerk, and Wang Hao was promoted to level 12 as a clerk this year. Everything is subject to the official documents in the factory, and after he returns, he will proceed with the procedures for the two of them. Wang Hao is still very happy about this unconventional conversion. Although the salary of a 12th level clerk is only 23 yuan, which is only 5 yuan higher than that of a junior apprentice, this is a good signal. With this knocking brick, the official career can only be considered as officially beginning. Although Wang Hao knew that meat was scarce, he never expected the energy of meat to be so great. In the words of Director Yang, this wild boar meat was a gamble you two put your lives on. If they split up and take it home, no one would say anything, but they brought it back to the factory. This shows that they make the factory their home. A bunch of slogans. Wang Hao didn't think of anything else. His hand was hurting badly now. After being received by the leader, Wang Hao rushed straight to the factory hospital. At this time, in the conference room of the steel rolling mill, everyone has their opinions on this pork. Should it be kept for entertainment, or should it be used as a welfare for everyone, or should the cafeteria dispose of it at noon? Director Yang took the lead in speaking. This meat was not purchased normally, I don't feel it's necessary to keep it as a treat. Yes, why don't we share some of the benefits with each person? Yes, comrades share joys and sorrows. Yes, after a pork meeting for over an hour, it was finally decided that the cafeteria would improve the food for the workers. I originally wanted to divide it, but due to the large number of people, one person only got a few dozen grams of meat, the size of a spoonful. It's too chilly. So I decided to improve the food a bit, so that the rewards for Chen and Wang Hao could go through better procedures. The decision is made, and everyone will have the propaganda department meeting come to an end and write a draft to make the workers happy first. While Wang Hao was looking at his hands, he heard a big good news coming from the loudspeaker. Today, our factory's procurement officer Chen and intern Wang Hao have captured and killed 269 pounds and 8 tails of wild boar, 1 wild boar, 2 people. The selfless spirit of the two of them is worth learning from. They make the factory their home. Lastly, let me remind you that there are meat and vegetables in the lunch hall. The lengthy report lasted for a few minutes before it ended. As soon as the horn stopped, I heard cheerful voices everywhere. Is there meat in the cafeteria at noon? Yes, my mother, I've forgotten when I last ate meat. The factory leader is a good person. Wild boar meat, just thinking about it makes my mouth water. Wang Hao has sewn more than 10 stitches in his hand now, gritting his teeth and having no other thoughts. The doctor who treated his wound looked at him with beautiful eyes. In the end, he hesitated to speak. After wrapping his hands, Wang Hao returned to the office and found no one. After inquiring, he found out that everyone else was still out shopping and had not returned yet. Chen had already gone home. Wang Hao finally shook his head and prepared to go home to catch up on his sleep. Walking to the hiding place, Wang Hao took out a chicken and a few eggs from the space and headed home. As soon as I entered the door, I found an old man named Yi Zhonghai sunbathing at the door, which was clearly due for work today. Grandpa, didn't you go to work today? Wang Hao, I didn't go today. I have some business to attend to. Are you buying another chicken and planning to eat it? Wang Hao, I have to say a few words to you. Life is not like this, so be frugal. The days ahead will be long. An old man opened his eyes and saw Wang Hao pushing his car into the courtyard, with a lively hen tied to the back seat. If Wang Hao hadn't traveled through time, just listening to his words would have thought he was a kind-hearted old man. Actually, what? Regardless of how silly Zhu and Qin Huairu were hooked on the bloodsucking, let's just talk about the accident of Jia Dongxiu in the following 62 years. What role did Yi Zhonghai play in it? I don't believe it has nothing to do with him. Indulging Jia Zhang, Pua's silly pillar, intending to infiltrate Qin Huairu through these piles and pieces, it can also be seen that he is not a pure kind-hearted person, but a hypocrite dressed in a skin full of moral beauty. Grandpa, as a lonely person, I have nothing else to do but eat and drink. Don't worry about me. With this time, why don't you consider Jia Dongxiu's issue? I heard it's time for a rating assessment soon. Wang Hao stabbed Yi Zhonghai's heartfelt nest in one fell swoop, not to mention whether Jia Dongxiu was his seed or not, just that he chose Jia Dongxiu as his elder. This first-class worker also worried him. After Wang Hao finished speaking, he glanced at the third master's house and found that everyone except for the third lady was not at home. I won't stay any longer and will just push the cart back to the courtyard. Entering the courtyard, Qin Huairu was washing clothes again. Wang Hao is really speechless. It seems like every time I see her, I'm washing clothes. Qin Jia, are you doing laundry again? Why do you have so many clothes to wash at home all day? Well, the clothes of the stick get dirty quickly. Qin Huairu said without lifting her head. Qin Huairu, you little wave hoof, who are you talking to? Jia Zhang's voice was indeed delayed but arrived. Okay, Qin Jia, then you wash it, I'll go home first. After Wang Hao finished speaking, he pushed the car into the room. Qin Huairu looked at the hen in the back seat of Wang Hao's car without leaving a trace and swallowed uncontrollably. Wang Hao had just taken down the chicken when he saw Su Dumao returning from outside with Lu Xiaoa. Sister Yi, come and have chicken for lunch. The person who helped Wang Hao the most in the past year was Lu Xiaoa. I often bring some food and drink to Wang Hao every 3 days or 2. Xiaohao, where did you get the money to buy a chicken? Don't do anything wrong. Lu Xiaoa smiled and said to Wang Hao, if there is anyone in this courtyard that Wang Hao trusts the most, then it is definitely only Lu Xiaoa. Her heart is truly kind. A beautiful person with a kind heart means that the person they marry is not very good. Sister Yi, I'm already at work. I look like a bad person. It's not time to spend money on work, is it? I believe you won't do anything bad. Where do you have the money to buy things? A friend gave it as a gift, not a purchase. I helped him a little. Ah, what a busy move is like a chicken. Don't be fooled by others. Shu. Wang Hao made a silent gesture and gestured to her to get closer. When she approached, Wang Hao said in a voice that only 2 people could hear, I helped him get some New Year's supplies. He made too much, and I confiscated the money. I'm afraid I won't be able to explain later, so he gave me a chicken and eggs. Oh, do you still have this way? I didn't see it, okay, Xiaohao. Lu Xiaoa also imitated his appearance and whispered to him. That's right, although I was a bit down and out before, I still have some friends who are more or less knowledgeable. Speaking, Wang Hao seemed to proudly hold his head in chest high. Come on, you said you're getting fat and panting, so you can do it first. I'll try your craft later, and I'll have your brother Mao bring 2 bottles of wine. After speaking, Lu Xiaoa and Su Dumao returned to their own room. Shortly after, a noisy argument echoed from the room. These past few days, my mentality has deviated from the right track. I originally wanted to write a piece of music, but when I turned my hair, I realized that I was gradually bound by those illusory things. As the saying goes, a gentleman is not a weapon. I will try my best to gradually correct my own mentality, and I still want to thank all the big shots for their support. End of this chapter. Chapter 8. Splashing Thunder in 3 Days. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8. Splashing Thunder in 3 Days. Wang Hao couldn't get too involved in their household chores. Most of the conflicts between the couple still stem from their children's problems, and as an understanding person, Wang Hao naturally knows about Su Damao's problems. But it's not easy to say too much. I had a few vague conversations with Lu Xiao before, but I don't know what the situation is now. Fortunately, the argument didn't last long, and the couple ended up with Wang Hao's family. Xiaohao, close the door and don't let him come. It's annoying to see him. Lu Xiao walked into the room and pouted as she spoke to Wang Hao. Lu Xiao, I'm listening. Don't be discouraged. If you have the ability, give birth to a child for me. Even if you make me a bastard in the future, I'll accept it. Su Damao followed behind, holding 2 bottles of Fengjiu in his hand. Wang Hao didn't answer the couple's words, so he put food, congee and mantou on the table one by one. Alright, brother Mao and sister Yi, sit down and have a meal. Wang Hao shouted for the 2 to sit down and eat. Su Damao rudely searched for a wine glass in Wang Hao's room, and then twisted open a bottle of wine and poured 2 glasses himself. He picked up a cup and looked up to drink his stomach. Bring another cup to Wang Hao. Then he said, Xiaohao, do you think the importance of this incense is not important? After 100 years without children, there won't even be anyone to add soil to one's own grave. Are you right? What's wrong with you? I took her to several hospitals these days, but couldn't find anything wrong. When she came home, she told me what to say, just adopt one. Xiaohao, can the adopted one be the same as her own child? There's blood between them, right? After speaking, it's another glass of wine to drink. Looking at Su Damao, who was feeling melancholic alone, Wang Hao suddenly didn't know what to say. In Wang Hao's memory, the Lu family was later reported by him, so it should be an authentic young talent. It can be learned from Wang Hao that Su Damao, apart from being slightly disheveled, sometimes a bit gloomy and stingy. Everything else is fine. Wang Hao pondered for a moment, and upon careful consideration, he came to an idea. No matter who is left behind, their wife has just divorced and they have become enemies. Who can bear to leave them behind? I feel that reports are light, I can even sharpen my knife and cut her dog day. Ah! He's also a pitiful person. Su Damao's alcohol tolerance is already not good, and he belongs to the type that is both delicious and playful. The one who doesn't drink much and loves to drink. Plus, he was in a bad mood today, so he quickly poured himself down on the table. Wang Hao helped Su Damao back. After returning, Lu Xiaoyi was still eating leisurely, and it must be said that the young lady from a wealthy family did have temperament. Sister Yi, where are you causing trouble? Since you went to the hospital, you haven't checked. I might not have checked, but I didn't have the heart to tell him. Did you ask the doctor? Is there any hope of recovery? Lu Xiao shook her head, sighed again, and then said, hey, his obsession with the child is almost crazy. I'm afraid he can't accept this result. When are you going to keep it hidden? And how long can you keep it hidden? I don't know either. Let's take a closer look. Let's not talk about our worries anymore, let's talk about you. How do I feel like you've grown taller after going out for 2 days? Is it my illusion? That's probably true. Wang Hao is not prepared to tell anyone the secret of his space. Firstly, it is too outrageous, and secondly, it is his last resort. How does it feel to work? Is it taking your father's class or your mother's class? I didn't even pick up. Director Yang arranged for me to work as a procurement officer in the logistics department. Purchasing, it's also a good profession. Now that you're working here, prepare for your parents' pension and job quotas. Lu Xiao was speaking when Wang Hao pointed to the next door and shook his head. Are you skeptical? Lu Xiao pointed to the next door. Wang Hao didn't speak, just nodded, and then poured a glass of baijiu into his stomach. His face became cold as if he wanted to kill someone. So what are you going to do? If not, I'll come back home and talk to my dad. These people are 2 bullies. Thank you, Sister Yi. It's not yet time. I've been here for such a long time, and I've been getting better and better these days. It's not short of this time. Okay, then you can count it yourself. The two continued to eat, and neither of them spoke again, but Wang Hao poured baijiu cup after cup. Not long after, it's true that you've been overestimating yourself. Lu Xiaoa helped Wang Hao onto the bed, but her face showed a blush on her cheeks. It was already midnight when Wang Hao woke up from drinking. I drank too much and dreamed of being with Sister E. It's ridiculous. Wang Hao rubbed his head and got up to take a sip of water before going back to sleep. But when he heard someone coming to his room outside, Wang Hao thought it was Yu Li. I didn't pay much attention and continued to lie in bed. Just waiting for the person to enter the room, Wang Hao saw clearly that it was not a woman, but two big men. This is recruiting thieves. Wang Hao was too nervous to breathe loudly. Although his physical fitness is indeed good and his strength is much stronger than others, he dare not underestimate himself. Most importantly, his hand is still injured. Moreover, those who dare to make a living at such times are unlikely to have guns in their hands. Big brother, there doesn't seem to be anything good in this room. Take a look, it's just a passing message. If not, just shout. The two of them began to stir up in the room as they spoke, and were called big brothers as they walked straight towards Wang Hao, who was pretending to sleep on the bed. Through the moonlight shining through the windowsill, Wang Hao looked at the big brother holding a standard pistol in his hand. While feeling grateful for not being reckless, I also pondered how to save myself in my heart. Big brother slowly got closer and closer to the bed, and Wang Hao's heart suddenly burst out. Despite the injury to his right hand, he grabbed the pistol from Big Brother's hand with both hands hooked. If it were to say that Wang Hao's luck was indeed good, this Big Brother was startled by his sudden outburst, and in a moment of unconsciousness, he took the pistol away. Wang Hao pointed a pistol at his elder brother in his left hand and slowly turned on the light in his right hand. Big brother, don't turn on the lights, you'll scare people again when you come back. You idiot, don't even look at what's happening now. Big brother shouted angrily. Ah! Ah! Big brother, spare your life, big brother, spare your life, we have no choice but to do so. As soon as I turned my face, I saw that the attack and defense had changed shape. I couldn't help but beg for mercy immediately. Wang Hao, what's the noise at night? I just can't sleep anymore. He Yuzhu and Jia Dongshu next door were obviously awakened by the commotion just now. I'm sorry, I accidentally fell off just now and will be sleeping soon. Wang Hao shouted to avoid it. Let's talk about it, two heroes. How did this step on my head? And judging by their figures and the style of the firearm, aren't they ordinary people? Now that the gun is in your hand, you can kill or cut it as you please. Why say so much? A man who is killed will not be humiliated. This big brother, judging by his temperament, is a tough and resolute man. Just his little brother is different. Big brother, it's not like that. Don't be angry. We'll come here to do something, and by the way, when we see that your door is not closed, we thought we could come and see if we could find someone to stutter. We're too hungry. This little brother is really cowardly. He hasn't really scared much yet, so he just reveals everything like pouring beans out of a bamboo tube. These two brothers are from Liangzhuang, Red Star Commune. The elder brother's name is Zhao Lei, the bandit's name is Tian Lei, and the younger brother's name is Song Qiao. Because he is the third in the family, the bandit's name is Pa San. It is the dark child buried during the bald retreat and then developed into a dark child. According to generations, it belongs to the dark grandson. After so many years, there has been no movement in the south. The belief that was fooled out of my heart has long been lost and I don't know where it has flown. After all, both of them have gone from being pawns to contacts, because the old dark son died of illness, and I haven't seen any movement from the bald man. Now they still have nothing to do and can only live like ordinary people. Just be able to eat enough. I haven't had enough to eat in these days, so I had a crooked idea. I heard that there are households here who eat meat every day. I just wanted to try my luck to rob a rich man, but I didn't expect to be defeated as soon as I arrived. End of this chapter. Chapter 9. My mother the boss is a fairy. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9. My mother the boss is a fairy. After understanding the causes and consequences, Wang Hao pretended to take out 2 small dough balls dipped in chicken cake and duck cake from his pocket, and let the 2 of them eat them. It's not easy for the 2 of them to go against each other either. At first, Jian'an resisted a bit, but with the kind persuasion of Plums, who thought about his wife and children, he still ate them. Seeing the 2 of them taking it, Wang Hao explained that it was a highly toxic pill, but to their surprise, they had no suspicion at all. Little did they know that the 2 of them were still silently thinking, the taste is bitter, nauseating, and the smell is strange. This is absolutely poisonous. The 2 big thieves have suffered a loss of lack of education. Originally, both of them had lifeless faces, but Wang Hao said again, it's not without an antidote. Speaking, he pinched 2 more dough from the space and dipped it in some sugar he bought a few days ago for the 2 of them to eat. The 2 of them didn't doubt him and swallowed it directly. Sweet taste, easy to swallow, it should be the antidote. Just as I was thinking about it, I heard Wang Hao say, this antidote can only last for a month. Come to me when it's almost time to get it. Big brother, then why are you keeping us? What do you want us to do for you? The flattery of a traitor-like demeanor asked. There's nothing I need you to do for now. Go back and inquire for me first. Who threw out the news of eating meat you heard? Don't call me big brother, call me big brother. It's the boss. Plums finished speaking. Boss, who are you? Why do you carry poison with you? Or is that not poison at all? Thunder continued to sound. It has to be said that Jian'an has some brain, except for some bald people who carry poison with them. What kind of person am I? After Wang Hao finished speaking, he lifted his hand and a pile of supplies, such as rice, noodles, and vegetables, appeared in front of the 3 of them. Damn it, boss, are you a magician? This is too true. As Plums spoke, he reached out and took a carrot and took 2 bites. Oh my god, this is amazing. It tastes even better than real carrots. You idiot, this is true. Boss, are you a reclusive fairy? Jian'an was completely shocked by this move. In recent years, he was able to produce so much grain at once, and those vegetables looked obviously freshly picked because there was still juice seeping out from the stubble. Who could have done this? Wang Hao listened to their words and just waved his hand, saying, you don't have to worry about so much. You can't treat you unfairly with me. If you lack food, come to me and I will give it to you. But there are 2 things. First, my affairs cannot be disclosed to anyone, not even a word. Second, find a reasonable path and reason for what I have taken from you, and only you and your family can eat it yourself. Others are not allowed to dye their fingers, not even a grain of rice. Okay, I got it, boss. We have our own path. We don't check this in our rural areas either. After 3 bites, he picked up another carrot and continued to nibble. While gnawing and speaking. Regardless of whether we investigate or not, we must prepare a safe path, and be afraid of the unexpected. Wang Hao spoke out. Boss, are you trying to hide yourself? Jian'an has some brains, but not many. Yes, that's all. Go back and complete the tasks I've instructed you to do well. Take as many supplies as you can. Also, help me collect various seeds, all kinds of seeds. And livestock seedlings, all kinds of things, whether flying in the sky, running on the ground, swimming in the water. All. Wang Hao spoke to them and took out 4 pairs of chickens and ducks each from the space. Boss, why do you want seeds and seedlings? San asked casually as he grabbed the supplies. Don't ask me why in the future, just do what I have instructed. Yes, boss. Two people speak in the same voice. From the moment live chickens and ducks appeared, the two of them completely believed that Wang Hao was a fairy and it was a great honor to act for him. I'll keep this pistol for now. You guys take the supplies and go back first. This is my first time in a month. You keep it, we still have a few of those things. I didn't bring them with me when I came out in a hurry today. If you want them, I'll bring them to you next time. The flattering expression on San Yi's face turned out to be somewhat cute. No need, I'll just keep this one. You guys hurry up and pack it up. If you can't finish it, don't force it. If you're obedient, you'll have it next time. If you don't listen, you'll not only have it, but you'll also die. Don't have any inappropriate thoughts. Okay, boss, let's go first. After Jian'an finished speaking, he pulled Pusan out with something on his back. Just as I stepped out of the courtyard, I couldn't control my mouth when I splashed 3 times. Jian'an, you think we're lucky enough to be able to help the immortal with things. Stain, I can't believe it. Mind your mouth, otherwise you won't even know when you'll die. Upon hearing the reminder from Jian'an, Pusan hurriedly covered his mouth and ran towards Liangzhuang as if fleeing. And at this moment, inside Wang Hao's house. Seeing that the two had indeed left, Wang Hao immediately relaxed his grip on the shelf. In order to intimidate these two people, Wang Hao had to put on a show and even let out a corner of his trump card. However, the result was also considered perfect, and these two people were completely intimidated. Having 2 more subordinates, Wang Hao didn't feel much happy either. On the contrary, it is a lament that this era is really full of demons and monsters. 5 horses and 6 paths, 3 teachings and 9 streams in the next few days. Wang Hao did not follow his master and instead took a special sick leave approved by the factory leadership at home. When will he be back to work when his hands are better? His probation procedures have also been approved, so he is now a serious level 12 clerk. In order to cope with the strong winds in a few years, this position is definitely unstable. So I have to keep moving forward. In between, Yuli has come a few times, without exception, all of them have been failures, with no victories. Everything in the courtyard is as usual. Yesterday, a batch of seeds and livestock seedlings were sent by the 3 heavenly thunders. The variety is very diverse, and the seeds range from common crops to common fruits and vegetables. As for the livestock seedlings, the 2 of them also put in a lot of effort, from chickens, ducks, fish, rabbits to sparrows, pigeons, and even mouse cubs. Wang Hao didn't know whether he should cry or laugh. My subordinates have it, and the key intelligence seems a bit touching. In the end, Wang Hao also gave them another batch of supplies, but unfortunately, both of their children had quite a few, with 5 being thunderstruck and 7 being splashed. Material consumption is certainly fast. Throw the seeds and seedlings they sent into the space, and the space has finally been upgraded. The auxiliary system has been upgraded to level 2, and the host's body enhancement has been given as a gift, which has been enforced. The system operation method has been issued and the intelligent prompt has been turned off. The familiar current disappeared again after more than 10 minutes. Now Wang Hao's body has become stronger, and his right hand injury is rapidly recovering at a visible speed to the naked eye. For safety reasons, Wang Hao continued to wrap himself in gauze to prevent anyone from stabbing his back. As for the second-level function of the space, it is just the addition of a processing workshop and the classification of various crops, livestock, etc., so that each subject can see at a glance which one has how much stock. As for the processing workshop, it is the fine processing of crops and can also produce various snacks, such as dried meat, maltose, granulated sugar. This is also very convenient. From staple food to side dishes, this bug is a bit considerate. I try my best to post during off-work hours so that everyone has time to take a look. Try not to conflict with the updates of those great gods. We're not a match for this little guy, are we? End of this chapter. Chapter 10. Accidents Other Than Accidents. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10 Accidents Other Than Accidents. Although his hand injury has healed, Wang Hao still hasn't gone to work. With the guarantee of Splash 3 in Thunderbolt, Wang Hao began to want to discount some of the things produced in the space, but they could not be sold in large quantities, otherwise it would be troublesome to attract the attention of relevant departments. As the saying goes, money is not everything, but without it, it is absolutely impossible. During the day, Wang Hao went to visit Old Chen with a chicken. Old Chen Ji said that Wang Hao was injured and he had not yet had time to visit, so he came to his own house first. Shenyang warmly left Wang Hao to eat at home, but the chicken was not killed. Chen Shi wanted to keep it and lay eggs. At the banquet, Chen Shuamei's cheeks turned red when she saw Wang Hao, and she lowered her head, not knowing what she was thinking. Chen Shuesher didn't come back because of class. During the banquet, Wang Hao intentionally or unintentionally mentioned that he had a way to obtain supplies, and if his family needed them, he could help. After hearing this, Chen Shi expressed that he would inevitably have to trouble him in the future. In the afternoon, Wang Hao returned to the courtyard. Sleep until night. Late at night, Yuli quietly came to his room again. But she wants to come and eat meat, so she can't do anything else today because her relatives are here. However, with Wang Hao's unremitting efforts, Yuli finally performed her oral art. Just when Li couldn't speak, a sudden noise came from the door. Startled, Yuli quickly hid in Wang Hao's bed. Wang Hao stood up to check the situation outside. Arriving outside the door, I saw Qin Huairu quietly preparing to escape. Seeing Wang Hao arrive, Qin Huairu said in some panic, "Xiao Hao, I'll come out and use the restroom." I didn't see anything. What a place without 300 taels of silver. Really? So, Qin, what are you running for? Wang Hao took 3 steps and took 2 steps to catch up with Qin Huairu, who was turning around. He covered his mouth and picked it up before walking towards the room. I don't know if it was excessive fright or unexpected. Qin Huairu did not struggle too fiercely. Until he was thrown onto the bed by Wang Hao. Qin Huairu started crying with a little feminine expression. "Xiaohao, let me go. I didn't see anything, I really didn't see anything." Wang Hao looked at Qin Huairu crying in bed. In his impression, she shouldn't have this kind of appearance and personality. However, upon closer examination, it was not easy for this woman. 2 years later, Jia Dongxiu died in an accident, leaving behind her family as orphans and widows. Perhaps she did not want to draw the blood of silly Zhu, but the cruelty of reality is not subject to personal influence. It can be considered that she has given everything for the Jia family. After all, who would be willing to be a ghost if one could be a good person? However, it is obvious that this is not the time for Wang Hao to show mercy and cherish Jade. In this era, such things are either consensual, breaking shoes, or a hot crime of rape and hooliganism, which is a serious crime that can be executed. Wang Hao dare not be careless. If she goes out, she will be scolded. This will be considered as an explanation for his life. Wang Hao reached out and lifted the blanket, revealing the hidden Yuli. Then he said, "I see it now. I didn't see it, I didn't see it. I won't let you go again at this time." Speaking of deceiving oneself and going up more than 2 hours later, the children in bed were exhausted, but the main force in this battle was Qin Huairu, and Yuli was just playing as an assistant. Yuli was not surprised by the complete fall of Qin Huairu, as this animal was incredibly strong. Qin Huairu was ashamed to hide under the bed and embarrassed to show her face, while Yuli went to the stove with great magnanimity to pick up the stewed meat left by Wang Hao. Watching Yuli's movements, Qin Huairu felt a bit savory. Anyway, it's already like this. If you don't eat, wouldn't you be at a disadvantage? With such thoughts in mind, Qin Huairu decided to get up and go eat meat with Yuli. Wang Hao took out some dried meat and side dishes from the space and gave them to the two people. The two of them ate and drank their fill and left together. Wang Hao fell asleep contentedly and sweetly. After Qin Huairu tiptoed back home, Jia Dongshu was still soundly asleep, but when Jia Zhang heard the commotion, she said, "How could I go to the restroom for such a long time? Well, for some reason today, my stomach is feeling a bit uncomfortable." Qin Huairu said as she crawled into bed and fell asleep. One family is happy and the other is worried. At this moment, Yu Li is not so lucky. Upon returning home, Yan Jicheng looked at Yu Li with an angry expression on his face, clearly waking up for a long time. "Take off your pants." Yan Jicheng wants to confirm his guess. "Why did I take it off? Are you having a problem? You scumbag, are you still wearing that dog man's dirty stuff on your pants? You dare not take it off, right?" Upon hearing Yan Jicheng's roar, Yu Li untied her pants and pulled out an aunt's note covered in relatives, throwing it directly onto Yan Jicheng's face. "I stole your mother's man, Yan Jicheng. If you want a divorce, go tomorrow. Don't tarnish my reputation here." Yan Jicheng became low-spirited when he saw his aunt Teutonic. "Daughter-in-law, I don't doubt you. I am, just worried about you. Get off your mother's worries, I don't know what you're thinking yet. From today on, you'll sleep in yours and I'll sleep in mine. Don't let my filthy body tarnish your innocent body." As Yu Li spoke, she took out a few more blankets from the wardrobe. "Don't, daughter.in.law. Can you forgive me this time? Don't get close to me, I feel nauseous." After speaking, Yu Li crawled into bed. Wang Hao slept until he was exposed to the sun for 3 strokes. He needs to report to the factory for some things today. Because his hand injury was not yet healed in the eyes of outsiders, he rushed to work and was once again praised by the logistics director Wang Baoshan for his minor injury that did not go to the front line. In the afternoon, Wang Hao carried 3 net bags, all of which were space-produced meat strips, candies, and a bunch of side dishes. These sideline foods are definitely considered luxury items these days. Send them to Director Yang, Deputy Director Li, and Director of Logistics Department Wang Baoshan in sequence. Vice Factory Director Li and Wang Baoshan both laughed and praised Wang Hao's excellent young man. Only Director Yang, on the other hand, had a dark expression on his face, directly scolding Wang Hao for not following the right path at a young age, and even accusing him of such behavior as corrupting cadres. "It's the behavior of moths." Wang Hao admitted his mistake directly. Director Yang is really a good cadre in society. "I finish work in the afternoon." "Xiaohao, wait a moment. I have something to tell you." "Master, you said." Chen Shi didn't speak but pulled Wang Hao to a deserted place and pulled out a stack of big black 10. "Xiaohao, you mentioned before that there is a way to get supplies. This is the total amount of money we have with the others in our office. You can come back and see how to get some supplies. You can get as much as you can." "Master, is this?" "They haven't had any channels after all these years of work. You haven't been in the industry for long, you don't understand. The supply of bulk commodities and materials is usually provided by factories and other companies. It is indeed a company from that era, not the author's mistake. If you have any questions, you can check the operators of the materials from that era. Don't write too much, afraid of being killed. Direct communication, and we usually come forward to negotiate procurement. As for going to the countryside to collect goods, you also know that no one has abundant resources, let alone how much they receive. Wild roads are the most important resource for everyone, whether there are or not, even if there are, they will not let outsiders know. Unexpectedly, life has been difficult for every family in these years. Okay, I'll come up with a solution." Wang Hao finished speaking and took the money handed over by Chen Shi. Chen Shi happily left work. Book Friend Group 6870967883, you can add it to exchange ideas. Embrace your fists, end of this chapter.